Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 38th favorite dad in the family community, Papa West, Jacob West, and Shaq, here for another exciting episode of TMG Takes the Field, the weekly show where me and Tato and anybody else, not yet, but soon, talk about sports in general. Obviously, it's mainly just football, but we do talk about everything, especially breaking news. Just because I really like proving Aaron wrong, we're going to start the show off with basketball news. I talked a little bit about it a couple weeks ago. Jimmy Butler has expressed his interest or his demands of being traded from the Miami Heat. The Heat have said they are not trading him. And the news just recently, he has expressed his interest in wanting to be traded again. NBA trade deadline is coming up middle of next month. So we might hear some stuff. We might not. We'll see. But I will keep you posted because I don't just talk about football. I just mainly talk about football. But with that being said, we had a very exciting week with college football, with the college football playoffs. We had our semifinal games, and we had two very fun, very close games. So let's talk about them. The first one, I believe it was last Thursday night, Notre Dame taking on Penn State. Notre Dame getting the dub 27-24, getting a field goal with 7 seconds left in the game to get the win. Riley Leonard did great, 223 yards and a touchdown. Their running back Love, 46 yards and a touchdown. Great game by both. It was very close throughout the entirety of it. Again, right at the very end, Notre Dame getting that field goal to win the game. And then the scoreboard doesn't really say how close it was, but a very close game. Ohio State taking on Texas. Ohio State getting a very quick score, but Texas just holding on to it. Ohio State getting the win 28-14. One reason why it was a two-score game with 2 minutes left. Jack Sawyer, linebacker for Ohio State, went to sack Quinn Ewers on like the 4-yard line. In the process of sacking him, did strip sack, picked up the ball, and ran it back for 83 yards, getting a fumble return for a touchdown, getting a two-score lead. But very close game, very exciting game. Little side note, Jack Sawyer and Quinn Ewers were roommates when they both attended Ohio State. So fun little side note there. So we have our championship matchup is set. The championship game is this Monday, the 20th, at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time. That is 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Probably on ESPN. Ohio State taking on Notre Dame. Last time Notre Dame was in a college football championship game, they lost 41-14. They lost to Alabama. This was when Manti Te'o was a member of the team. And most people remember Manti Te'o for not great reasons. Having a girlfriend who didn't exist. There's actually a really cool documentary about that on Netflix right now. You should give it a watch. Very interesting what was going on over there, going on with that situation. Last time Ohio State was in a championship, I believe was the first ever college football playoffs when they had 4 teams back in 2015, 2016, 2014, one of those years. They won it all. They were the number 4 seed in the playoffs. Ended up beating Oregon the first round, and I don't remember who they beat the second round. Might have been Clemson. But they did win it all. So we'll see if they can repeat. We'll see if Notre Dame can have a very magical year. Other really surprising that we haven't really heard a lot about Notre Dame this year. They have been very under the radar. They had that upset against Northern Illinois. But other than that, really under the radar team just to come out to make it to the national championship game. So we will definitely be talking about that game when it happens next week. But I did want to talk a little bit. Quinn Ewers, quarterback for Texas, has declared for the NFL draft. This was his junior year. did have the 1 year at Ohio State where I don't believe he actually played, sitting behind CJ Stroud, transferred to Texas, had a mediocre year last year, had a very good year this year. Obviously, there was the Arch Manning as his backup. A couple times he got to play. So there was going to be a little bit of controversy there, but he forgoing the controversy, heading to the NFL draft. So we will see what is in his future as he is forced to play for a crappy franchise, because he'll probably be one of the top picks, or at least one of the first quarterbacks taken. And then we did have the Hall of Fame class for the 2025 College Football Hall of Fame class induction. We had some names on there. We have Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, Michael Vick, and Michael Strahan are all being inducted into the 2025 College Football Hall of Fame. Real quick, want to shout out in the comments. Jonathan Beck. Hi, Jacob. Hi, Jonathan. Thank you for joining us in the comments today. If you want to say something and possibly get thrown up in the little section there, comment something, anything. I don't care. I'll talk to you. Did also want to talk about Carson Beck. Carson Beck, the Georgia quarterback, did declare for the draft very shortly after Georgia's season was over. He did decide to enter the transfer portal instead. He is signing with Miami. It is reported it's a $4 million deal with NIL and other stuff like that to join. So a little bit more than what he would have made had he gone to the draft. So interesting to see, especially with NIL being as apparent as it is, just kind of what that is doing for college football. Because I made a comment when I was a junior in high school. A guy was in our speech class. He was saying why college athletes should be paid. And my teacher was like, Jacob, I know you have an argument about this. I'm like, I really don't. I do not care. I do think it'd be interesting to see like a college player saying he can make more money staying in college than going to the NFL. And so I wonder if that would ever happen or what that would do. It happened. So we'll see next year what it actually does. But we are getting very near to the end of the college football season. So very excited to see the end of it. Very excited to see the off season and kind of some changes that are going to happen. I don't know what changes are going to happen. I know coaches have been talking about the transfer portal, having some changes there. Hopefully we see the transfer portal not taking effect until like later in the year. Because I know one of the big controversies was Penn State backup quarterback Bo Perbula not getting to join his team in the playoffs because he decided to transfer. So we'll see what changes happen there. But that is for a later episode, not for this episode. For this episode, we're going to talk about for the rest of this episode, we're going to talk about the NFL playoffs and what an exciting playoffs it was. So we did have Saturday. We had a couple games. We had the Texans taking on the Chargers. Chargers were heavily favored. Both Tato and I picked the Chargers to win, but the Chargers did not win. In fact, the Texans had their way, except for a random touchdown. They had 32 unanswered points. They got the win 32-12. They looked very dominant. One big thing that hurt the Chargers, Justin Herbert threw 4 interceptions. Jared Goff did it. He had a 5 interception game where they still won. That doesn't happen, though. If you throw multiple interceptions, if you throw 4 interceptions, you're going to lose. The Texans getting the win. They were at home, so having home field advantage probably helped them a little bit. But they did get the win. And then that night we had the Ravens taking on the Steelers. Ravens get the win 28-14. Very, very good performance by Lamar Jackson, having 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, 186 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. So very, very good effort on the Ravens end. I will say it did look like, especially at the beginning of the game, they were just going to take it and run away with it. Pittsburgh did hold them at points. Just unfortunately not able to do much on offense. And if you don't do anything on offense, you don't win. Then we had the Sunday games. We had the Bills taking on the Broncos, and I made the comment last week that that 35-0 win over Kansas City. Well, yes, it was against their backups, would probably awaken something in the Broncos. And boy, was I right for the first drive. Bo Nix had it was like a 40-plus yard pass to get a touchdown, to get the first touchdown of the game. And then it was all Bills after that. Broncos could not do anything. Bills with 31 points unanswered, getting the win 31-7. Josh Allen looked great, 272 yards, 2 touchdowns. James Cook, 120 yards and a touchdown. Like, they were all over Denver. Denver could not do anything after that first drive. Buffalo getting the win 31-7. Then we had the Eagles taking on the Packers. This was an interesting game because just like with the Chargers game, you throw a lot of interceptions. You usually don't win. Jordan Love had 3 interceptions. There was a fumble also, so 4 turnovers, and it's really hard to win. But the Eagles' offense was having some issues there. Tato's giving me a huge smile, but the Eagles' offense was struggling at times. Sometimes they look great. Saquon did have 120 yards rushing. Jalen Hurts had 2 touchdowns in the air. So they struggled at times. But they weren't able to capitalize on a lot of those interceptions that they had. They did get the win, 22-10 over the Packers. But still, there was some reading going on in the middle of the game. In my 30 years of existence, I've never heard of an NFL player reading on the sideline, but it happened. Then we had Sunday night, the Commanders taking on the Buccaneers. This is the part where Jonathan Peck goes crazy in the chat because Washington, very close game, very competitive the entire game. And then right at the end, Zane Gonzalez, 37-yard field goal to get the win, 23-20. This was, I believe, 20 years. This was Washington's first playoff win in 20 years. And then Monday night, we had a crazy game. We had the Vikings taking on the Rams, and it was all Rams. Not much to talk about because the Vikings were horrible. Rams destroyed 27-9. So that was last week. I will say Tato and I did have some predictions going. So Tato, I'm going to bring you in. Tato, how's it going?
Hey, not bad. How are you doing?
Hey, there we go. So we did have a little prediction challenge going on. I was 3-3, so I split that. Tato was 4-2, so Tato getting an early lead on this little prediction challenge that we're doing. And since you're here, Jonathan says, "Hi, Tato."
Hey, bud.
And I was wrong. 19 years, Jonathan. Thank you so much for correcting my math. 19 years. That's still a long time to not win a football game or not win a playoff game. But before we get into next week, we do have some news that I want to get Tato's take on. We have a huge name in the coaching carousel off the carousel. Sunday morning, the New England Patriots announced a multi-year contract with, I think, the best coach who was available last year. Why he did not get a job last year, I still do not know. But Mike Vrabel is no longer unemployed. He is the new head coach for the New England Patriots. Tato, how do you like that signing?
10 receptions, 10 touchdowns. Makes a lot of sense. And that's regular season. A couple more, 2 more in the postseason. So, yeah, all that dude does is catch touchdowns. And he's the coach. Yeah, I think he'll do fine there.
He was also a linebacker.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that part, too. I mainly focus on all of his touchdown receptions. But, yeah, no, I think Vrabel's an excellent coach. I would. I don't think I'd have minded seeing him in Chicago if it went that way, but I'm also not heartbroken over it because I do. I would much prefer a an offensive head coach. So he wasn't super high on my list, but also not someone I would have bitched about because he's got, real leader of men. His players love him, kind of guy. Leader in the room type of cat. So I think he'll do good. And obviously, it can't get much worse up there in the Northeast.
Like I don't think he'll have a great year this first year because it's the New England Patriots.
Yep.
But like you can't go wrong with signing Mike Vrabel. He is a great coach. He was fantastic in Tennessee, and I still have no idea why he got fired because that was a horrible decision. They actually had a fairly decent record, let him go, and now they have the worst record in football. So take that how you will. I'll take that exactly how I will. He should have been hired by a team last year. He didn't. Reports were saying that he was intimidating general managers and owners. Who do you want to coach your football team? The guy who intimidates you and you're scared to death that he's going to whoop you? I would want that guy as my football coach, but that's just me. Great signing there though for the Patriots, and obviously he has a lot of history with the team, so it's just something you can't be not happy about it. But we do have some more coaching news in the world of Dallas. Mike McCarthy, he was on his final season, so he wasn't fired, but he wasn't re-signed. Mike McCarthy will no longer be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Granted, now this means Mike McCarthy is available. I think it's hilarious because the Bears asked the Cowboys, "Can we interview Mike McCarthy?" And the Cowboys said no. Just for the very next week, them deciding they would not have Mike McCarthy anymore. And now the Bears are free to interview Mike McCarthy. It's hysterical. But
Which they did. Or
yes.
yeah, to my knowledge, they flew him out to whatever fucking little place in Illinois. So I don't know if an interview has officially taken place yet. I don't know if it can or not, or what the dealio is. Again, I don't think I'm breaking ground on any information. Hopefully, I don't get the Bears in trouble with the NFL here.
I think if you know this information, it's probably widely known.
Probably. I don't. But fucking yeah. Poles called me up the other day. Says Tato, we're bringing in McCarthy. I'm like, fuck. Just get Ben Johnson. I says to the guy.
Yeah. So because I didn't want to get your opinion on this. There was a disagreement as far as the contract length. McCarthy obviously wanted more years than Dallas was willing to give him. They were not able to come to an agreement, and so they decided it was best to part ways. Mike McCarthy has been like one of the top candidates for both the Chicago job and the New Orleans Saints job. I have a feeling I know your answer. I have a feeling you would much rather see him in gold and black than navy and orange, but that's just me. But what are your thoughts on Mike McCarthy leaving and then where you see him going?
So I haven't looked into it a ton. I don't think he is a terrible coach. He's got the Cowboys stink on him, which is not necessarily his fault and shit. Like, because obviously that's the job and shit. The Cowboys head coach, fucking, if you can succeed there, that's the shit. They're still America's team in a lot of people's hearts, and so I definitely don't blame him for taking that job. Unfortunately, it did not go because that's the way that's gone for 30 years now. It hasn't for anyone. So it's rough to say. Is he offensive or defensive in general?
He's more
both sides. Okay. Well, then I'd definitely, I'd be willing to take a chance and shit. Like, I don't want to fucking dump on a guy before he's had a chance to succeed or fail or anything. So,
I mean, he ran the offense while in Green Bay, and I don't remember if he ran the offense for Dallas this year, but he ran it last year. After they let go of Kellen Moore, Kellen Moore went to Los Angeles. He did take over the offense, and so he is more offensive minded. Obviously, he won a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. A lot of people are saying he probably should have won like 3 or 4 with Aaron Rodgers. Because he got Aaron Rodgers at his prime, and I mean it's hard to win a Super Bowl. As a fan of a team who's only won one, it's hard to win one. But there's a lot of reports that like when he was with the Packers, they'd get a lead, and then the second they get a lead, he kind of slow down, be more apt at kicking field goals, not aggressive at all. That was another thing with the Cowboys when there was a lot of disagreement with him and Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore wanted to be up by 21 and still throwing the ball, still being aggressive. He wanted to be a little more conservative with everything. And hey, you have a 21-point lead. Let's start running it a little more. Let's waste the clock, stuff like that. And so I will say with his first year running the Cowboys offense, they did very well. Obviously, they won the division. Dak played at an MVP level. Whether that was just dumb luck or whether that was his coaching, I think it was more of his coaching, but that's just me personal. I do not think any team will go wrong by hiring Mike McCarthy as their head coach. He's definitely not the worst person coaching right now. I can probably name a handful of coaches who are worse than him. So I think he would make any team at least a little bit better. I doubt he would make any team immediately a Super Bowl contender, but definitely would be good to be on any team, especially anyone that's open. Also, Jonathan Peck coming in the chat. Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman is getting an interview with the Bears. Also, question for Tato. Tato got a question. As a Bears fan yourself, not only you want an offensive-minded head coach, but do you want cultural-minded too?
I feel like that one goes without saying. I would like obviously you want a winning culture. I don't have a personal preference on how that gets done. If it is the hard-ass coach, cool. If it's a more chill cat that gets it done as well, that's fine by me. So I don't really care personality wise as long as it is a winning culture. So whatever is best for, in general, the development of Caleb and the team.
Definitely, that makes sense. Well,
Caleb strikes me as a dude who wants to be coached hard. So
yeah. Well, let's quit talking about what ifs and go into more what ifs as we talk about this weekend with with the NFL playoffs, the divisional round. So Tato, do you have picks ready?
I do.
Awesome. So do I. So the first game that we have Saturday, 4:30, the Texans are traveling to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. This is the 1-4 seed matchup. Chiefs are 8-point favorites. Their starters are coming off of a 2-week bye because they rested in week 18. They had the first round bye. Houston is coming off that really great game against LA. They haven't been playing well, but they definitely had a great game in the first round of the playoffs. I'm going to go ahead and go first. This is a rematch. The 21st of December, right before Christmas, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Houston Texans 27-19. And I said it last week. I'll say it again this week. It is really hard to beat a team twice. It's almost impossible to beat a team 3 times. That being said, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to beat the Houston Texans a second time. They get the win, and they move on to the semifinals of the playoffs. Tato, what about you?
Yeah, I got the Chiefs here as well. Super well rested. It just, yep. Good luck to Houston, but I think the Chiefs will do it.
Yeah. All right. Our next game, we have the Commanders traveling to Detroit to take on the Lions. This is the 1-6 matchup. Lions are 9.5-point favorites. And then their starters only on a 1-week bye because they played in week 18. Tato, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, similarly to the last one. I think the 1 seed just gets it done. Both of them have been among the top 3 teams in football, I would say. 4 at worst, maybe. Yep.
Definitely. I don't like this spread. I feel the 9.5-point spread is too much. So I would pick Washington to cover, but I do think Detroit gets the win. I do think, especially with having Jahmyr Gibbs healthy too, just having the ability to run the ball, waste some time. The Eagles did it the year that they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Chiefs, where they'd get the ball to start the second half, and they'd waste pretty much the entire third quarter and then run it in for a touchdown with like 3 minutes left. It's like, good luck. You're down. We just took off more clock than you can count. Good luck. I think it's going to be very similar with this Lions team. I think it is going to be a pretty close game, somewhat high scoring, but I do think the Lions, kind of like the 49ers last year, where they are the best team in football, in my opinion, right now. And even if it's close, they're going to come out on top. Jonathan, I'm sorry. That's just the way I feel. And then Sunday, we have the 3:00 game. The Rams traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. This is the 2-4 matchup. Eagles are 6.5-point favorites. And this is a rematch. They did play November 24th, where Philadelphia got the win 37-20. Like I've said before, it is hard to beat a team once. It is almost impossible to beat a team twice. But I can't say no, it's my Eagles. I will say we did have a rough game last week, but it's easier to coach a team if you won and played bad than if you played great and won. It's easier to coach your team. It's easier to kind of turn it around. I do think Jalen Hurts plays a lot better. And just like in the regular season, A.J. Brown made the comments that he wasn't being used enough. And what they do the very next week, Jalen threw for like 290 yards, 150 of that was to A.J. He had like 2 touchdowns, obviously an explosive weapon, and they destroyed. I don't remember who they destroyed, but it was right after the Panthers game. I think it's going to be something kind of similar here, where they're going to come out just swinging, and then they're just going to control the second half. I have the Eagles getting the win here. What do you say, Tato?
I'm going to agree with you on that one. I think of the 3 matches with possible like true upsets. This one would be the most likely just because, Stafford, the wily vet, you can never count him all the way out, but I will pick the Eagles.
And then our final game, we have the Ravens traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bills. The 2-3 matchup. The Ravens are 1-point favorites. So they are favored to win. Let me see. I don't think they played each other this year. Did they?
Week 4.
Yes, they did. Week 4, where the Ravens got the win 35-10. Tato, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, obviously we are a long way out from week 4 and stuff. Things change, but Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson are so hot right now. I cannot go against them. Bills' defense is also kind of fell downwards towards the end of the season, which I do not think bodes well for how hot those the two they're just the sheer running attack of the Ravens.
All right, so I want to see something real quick. The over-under for total points scored is 51.5. If you are going to do anything this week betting wise, bet the over on the points. The Ravens, great defense, but have one of the worst pass defenses in the league. Granted, they played a lot better, but Josh Allen. I realize Tato cannot name a single wide receiver on that team, but they have decent wide receivers. Josh Allen has played at an MVP level. Cook has been doing great too. They've been missing a run game pretty much since Josh Allen joined the team. And this is that run game. This is a very high-powered offense. And then you have Lamar Jackson. It's the battle of the MVPs right now. Lamar and Josh, I really think whoever wins the MVP. So maybe that's a little bet that you do on the side too. And then Derrick Henry has just been lights out also. Not as good as Saquon, but still really good. But yeah, I think these are going to be two great offenses playing two not super great defenses, but still pretty good. I do think the Ravens just make a couple extra stops that the Bills can't. And I do think that the Ravens come out on top. So would you look at that, Tato? 4 games. We have all 4 picks the exact same. So it does look like you will win the playoff prediction for this year because there's not a lot of games in the playoffs. Fun how that works out. But any closing thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Well, we do have 3 more games. It could it's not over. But yeah, definitely been a fun NFL season. We'll see if anything gets froggy. It would definitely be more fun, I think, if a couple of our predictions go wrong. I mean, like who wants us to be right on Chiefs Texans? Nobody. That's who.
Nobody.
So we'll see. It's been awesome.
Yeah, I'm about to say a playoffs where you get the 1-2 seed in the semifinals on one side and then the 1-3 seed on the semifinals on the other side. It isn't that fun, but it still is fun because football's fun. But again, this is the revamp of TMG Entertainment. Be on the lookout. We have a lot of fun stuff coming around the corner, especially Saturday night, game night with Papa. I haven't made the sign-up post yet, but I'll announce it here. We're going to have a trivia game. I'll actually post the sign-up post probably tomorrow. Because I can't. It's called Survival Trivia, but I'm adding a little twist to it to add on to the whole survival aspect. We're going to be battling each other, so it's going to be a little more than just me asking everybody random questions. I will talk about that more Saturday night when we actually do game night with Papa. Be on the lookout for the sign-up post. You should be seeing it probably tomorrow. I might do it tonight. We'll see. Depends on what mood I'm in a couple minutes. Tato doing the lights out tournament right now. About to be getting Battleground back up and running on here. So check out Lights Out Trivia because a lot of fun is happening over there. And again, give us a like, subscribe, and throw in the comments. If Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson just play horrible Sunday night, who gets the MVP? Is it one of them? Is it somebody else? Do they give it to Saquon? Because Saquon deserves it. Let's be honest. Bye.